right, folks, welcome to block 9, the last day of the first week, and we have decided to make a modified version of what the submissions in the block is asking us to do. It's a little extensive, so we've reduced it a little bit to asking you to model this pen, two choices for a subassembly. Either these two pieces on the end or these three pieces, including a cylinder here, and we won't worry about the spring for the other end. So you choose one or the other of those, and that will be then assembled onto this piece here that you will be given. So here we go. Let's talk about the tip first, and then we will go into the other piece. So you can skip forward if you've chosen the other one. Now the point of these is that we're asking you to try to figure this stuff out on your own, challenge yourself to get the parts built, but use this video as a reference when needed. So first of all, we're going to need to take a look at some dimensions. So here's that first part and some dimensions that we're going to need to be able to build this correctly. So I've written out a sketch here. I'm going to get some of those dimensions, and then we will use those as we go along. Now this little rubber silicone piece that provides the grip, we will use the dimensions that we have here to build it. So we have an inside and outside dimension that's going to represent the thickness of this. The outside dimension of this will match the barrel that you've been given, and the inside will match this diameter of this part that flattens out here. So we're going to use existing parts to build this one. We're going to get measurements for this one. So please grab your dial caliper. You can mimic this sketch if you want, and let's make some measurements. All right, I've gotten my measurements. Hopefully you do too. The one thing we need also in addition to this is the shell thickness that we're going to need of that, or actually we're going to draw a profile. We're going to revolve this shape. That's the easiest way to do these things that are complicated like this. So we're going to lay that out in just a moment, and I will use my measurements, and hopefully you will use your measurements to put that thing together. All right, let's get started. We're going to build a new part. Hopefully you have a folder that you're going to put all of this in. So I'm going to make a new design. As always, we're going to create a component. Start a sketch on whatever the XY means to you. I think we discussed having that issue with some. I think that what I'll do is I'll start by drawing probably to the, I like to put things on the center point here, or on the origin first, and we'll go straight up, and I'm representing the left side of the lower barrel here. So you'll see what we're doing as we go along. So that measurement for me, I got 0.410, and that's going straight up. Okay, then it comes in a little bit. I'm going to worry about where in just a moment, but it comes up at an angle, and then it goes off here. Now I'm also going to, I think the easiest way to do this, whoops, I meant to make that line horizontal, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Make that line horizontal. Now, unfortunately, it moved that other one all over too, but we can move that back. Somehow it locked that up straight. I don't want that straight. I'm not sure how it did that, did it? Wait, oh, it made a perpendicular. I don't want that. I'm going to delete that perpendicular constraint. There we go. There. Now there's also a part that's represented by just the little flat part on the tip. I'm going to start that by making a line, just that little bitty line. That diameter of that part was 0.185, so I'm going to type that in. And again, this is just my method. There's a lot of different ways of getting this done. And there was an arc. So I'm going to make a 3-point arc that matched end to end and looks something like that. All right, now we can start worrying about some other measurements here in just a moment. My diameter at the bottom that I got, am I still in line command? I need to be in line command, was 0.587. Okay. And now I'm going to just mirror some things. So I'm not going to keep, whoops, I don't want that. Oh, I don't know how that happened. Let me dimension that part down below. There's my dimension tool. There we go. There we go. Now I'm going to make a line, make it a construction line that just goes up from the midpoint. See how that little triangle shows up? And I'll make that line a construction line because it's just going to be my line of revolve. Actually, I take that back. I'm going to need that later on. Now, I'm going to have to line up the top here with this. So I'm going to start pulling some things around. I pull this over here and this over here so I can start making sure that I'm not messing things up. When I start to do this, this gets a little bit tricky because I don't want things overlapping. Now I want to make sure I've got a horizontal constraint between the midpoint of this line and my line down here. So I'm going to have to put a point there first. Point on the midpoint of that. For whatever reason, we can't constrain it any other way. Now I can make a horizontal constraint between this point and this line. I think I'll have to make that point. There, now we've got this horizontal lined up. Now I can start putting in some other dimensions. Like the distance from here to the bottom, which for me was 1.2. Oh, my goodness. That got all messed up because I went way too far high, but that's okay. We can fix that by pulling this down here. Notice things start to get a little wonky. This happens, but if I can flip that out, just kind of keep working with it with the unconstrained stuff. All right. Now, before I go on, I'm going to go ahead and hook up those lines from here to here. Notice I do have an enclosed area that I can revolve already. But I don't want that yet because I'm going to make a profile. Actually, I can probably shell it. Either way would work. And I'm going to finally make a final height here of what I measured. What I measured was 1.75. All right. Now, things are a little wonky here. We've got some diameters that we need to deal with. All right. And I'll deal with this curvature in just a moment. So my inside diameter was 0.469. So I've got the distance from here to that center point which is the radius. So we can do that. Put this in here. I'm going to go ahead and put that in here. And I don't know if we've gone over this yet, but the computer will do math for me if I want. So I can put 0.4669 divided by 2 to get my radius. Same thing with the outside diameter. I got 0.537 from here to here. 0.537 divided by 2. There we go. Now, to make sure that this arc is kind of smooth and clean, I could just pull it until it looks right about that. I could also draw a line down here to be tangent to, but I think that's looking pretty good so far. All right, so we've got our general shape. I think we're looking good. Finish sketch. And now we can go ahead and revolve. We've got a profile selected already because I only have one. And here is the axis that we're going to go around. And I think I want to call it a new component. It's not saying okay. It must not let me select the profile. There's the profile. Okay. All right. Looking good so far. Okay. All right. Pretty cool. Looking like what we want. Now, shell command we're familiar with. We've used it before. I need a thickness on this thing, which I haven't gotten yet. It looks like, forgive me to put my glasses on, what I get is 0.054. So we're going to shell that to 0.054. Okay, looking pretty good. And okay. And finally, the last thing is that we'll put that hole in the top. So we'll put a hole up here. I believe that we can make it a reference to be concentric to that. If you choose a circle, it will put it right in the middle of it. And we have a hole type of a simple hole. It's going to go all the way through. My measurement was a diameter, I've got to move myself out of the way here, of 0.085. All right. So pretty good, folks. There we've got our tip. Looking pretty good. We've got to put some threads on it. Now, the one thing that I haven't figured out yet is what threads go on here. So I think to make sure that that fits, what I'm going to do is take a look at the barrel that you already have. We're going to see what those threads are in there. So those threads are, we could go on our timeline and find out where they are. So let's go through here. There they are. Okay, if I double click on that, it'll tell me what they are. They are 5/820 UN. Okay, so we can go back to our part now. We're going to create thread and hope the same thread shows up. Now that's 5/811. We want 5/820 is what was put on the barrel. So now we know that it's going to fit. And my depth right now is going less than what I want it to go. I need to figure this out. Here, we've got a size. I'm not sure why it's not going that length I want it to go. I'm going to pause this video and figure that out. Okay, I think I've figured it out. So we'll do this again. Put threads on there. Now you'll notice that right now when we hit modeled, it will create it. If I hit full length, uncheck that, and we can go the other direction. Whoops, that is not what I meant to do. I meant to grab this arrow. And we can go, oh my, different things are not happening the way I thought they would. Okay, hold on. I just had it figured out. And we're not going to go full length. There we go. When I uncheck full length, I can drag this up to the 0.41 that I had put that in at before, model it, and even though it wasn't showing it before, now it will show it. Now I know these threads are ridiculously big compared to what we have, but it's what we've got, and we're not going for perfect here. We're going for what is going to work. All right, so we have our modeled piece. Now let's talk about our little grip piece that's going to go on here. So I'm going to use what I already have for this when I built it before. And I might need to go back to make the threads not visible yet. Although I do have a dimension of 0.587 at the bottom of this. So I think we're ready to go with that using the measurements that we already have. All right, here we go. Let's start a new part. Or actually, I think I might just build a new component in here. Create new component. I'm going to show a little trick here. If I go up here to the top, click on my piece and then create no component. Nope, it still wants it to have a parent piece, and that's okay. So it moves this kind of gray out of the way, and that's all right. We're going to sketch on whatever plane we want. I think I'll go to that. We're going to build this one over here. I'm going to get that guy out of the way. And we're going to do the same thing that we did before. We're going to have a kind of a tapered piece. So I'm just getting myself set up for that. Okay, I want to make sure that I'm horizontal with this piece, so I'm going to do that. Okay, and as long as, come on, get horizontal for me. Oh, it already is because it's perpendicular to that, so that'll be fine. Now, I'm going to use what I already have for this. So what we've got is a diameter up here that is going to match this diameter here. So that should be 0.537 divided by 2 was the measurement I got. 0.537 divided by 2 because I want it to match. Now that's going to be on the outside. Then down here on the bottom is going to be my 0.587 divided by 2. No, that's the inside dimension though, so hold on, not thinking about that correctly yet. Actually, I want the outside dimension to match the barrel diameter. So we're going to get a barrel diameter by clicking inspect and see what that outside diameter is. It is 0.67. Let's make sure that I'm going to put to several decimal places. It's still 0.67. So when we go to this, that's what I want this to be, is 0.67 divided by 2. It's going to be that outside dimension. And whoa, I don't know why it shrank a little bit. Now, I've got dimensions on my other barrel that are going to show, or my tip piece, that are going to show how high it is, which for me is 1.2 minus 0.41. 2 minus 0.41. And that's getting me my overall shape of that thing for the outside diameter. All right. Now the inside is going to be the thickness of whatever the little lip is that is right here. Okay, that distance right there, which is 0.537 minus 0.469. So we're going to offset just this line. Let's get our offset command. We're going to move this line. Now it's going to do the whole thing. So I guess I don't want to do that. Let's just make a line here that goes from this point to this point. Now notice that I think we're holding parallel to that. Right, so those parallel constraints just showed up. And now we can do a dimension from here to here. Let's make sure it's lined up. See how it goes at that little angle? That's perfect. So that's going to be, for my dimensions, was 0.537 minus 0.469. Oh, those are diameters though. So, this is something that happens with kids and adults every once in a while. I've got to divide that by 2. So it's 0.537 because there's one on each side, minus 0.469 in the parentheses divided by 2. Okay, and there is our thickness. So we are looking pretty good for that. All right, so now we can finish our sketch, revolve this profile around that axis, and there is our piece. All right, we are looking good. Now, let's be fancy schmancy. These things have these little bumps in them that are kind of cut out. So we're going to go ahead and sketch again on the same plane that we were just sketching on. So whichever one of those planes shows up in the origin, let's see if we can figure this guy out. I believe that we started, I really wish they'd make it a little easier to see. I just hit sketch and make sure I know which one I'm going to be on. Looks like that one is the one that I want. Okay, we're sketching on that same plane again. Goes right through the middle of it. That's what I want. All right. Now, this is where it helps to see inside of things. So over here in your sketch palette, if it's hiding, it's got a little 2 buttons over here, is slice. And what that does is it removes any material between you and the sketch plane, just like a section view that we were doing before. So we're just going to approximate this and create an ellipse. So it's just going to barely be scooped out. So I'll start this ellipse pretty close, maybe just a little bit in down here. Get it close to parallel. Again, we're just approximating right here, so we're not going to make it perfect. Whoops, that looks like I had the radius. That is not what I meant to do. Let me try that again. Create an ellipse. I want the starting and ending point, not, center point. Okay, fine. We'll be as close to the middle as we can get. There we go. Good. I'm going to try and get it parallel. And then we're going to go like that where we're scooping in. We can move things around a little bit. Maybe grab points and pull them a little. There we go. That's looking pretty good. Now what I do need is I need a solid line from the end point to end point to be able to revolve around. All right, there we go. And I might even use the scissors to cut away. Now it's going to cut away all of it. So I guess I can't do that. So now let's see how this looks. We're going to finish this sketch. We're going to use our revolve tool and hopefully, yep, there it is. We got half of that. That we're going to go around this axis. We're going to cut. It's seeing that it's going through material all the way around. Okay. And looking pretty good. That looks cool. All right. Now we're going to need to make a circular pattern of that feature. So here we go. Let's create a circular pattern. Where's my circular pattern? Is it modify? No, create. Oh, there we go. Pattern, circular pattern. All right. Now what we're going to create is our objects that we want. I'm going to take that revolve that we just did. Our axis is going to be the middle of that, and I'll count. Let's see, how many of them are there? 1, 2, 3, I believe there are 6 of them. So we're going to make 6. And okay, it takes a minute for this to render, and there is our little grip looking pretty darn good. All right, and I think we're ready to make our assembly. But before we do that, let's make this appear the way we want it to appear. So up here, when we're in our browser over here, I'm going to choose that component, right click, and edit the appearance. I can also assign a material. I can actually make it, when we come up here and me out of the way, there should be polymers in here, all sorts of different things. I must have expanded wood before. There are plastics and things, and anyway, we'll get into that later, but what I want to do right now is deal with the appearance. Now when appearance shows up, there's all sorts of different things in here. Fabric, glass, so on and so forth. I can close. I must have been looking at different things. Paint has some very basic things in there, so I think I'll do green. And the way to do this is just to grab that component and drag it over and let go of it at the part. Oh, make a liar out of me. Come on. I'm not sure why that's not working. It was working for me before. Okay, I've got component 1 selected. Maybe I have to drag that up into the library first and then drag it over. Okay, now I'm struggling, so hold on. Okay, I remember the difference. These spheres are things that can be applied directly without downloading, but these guys, when you get over to here, need to be downloaded. Okay, once those are downloaded into your library, now you should be able to. There we go. So you actually have to import them. All right, now I'm going to activate component 1, close this. You can also come up here and activate your entire assembly. That will work out too. I'm going to go to component 1 and edit the appearance of that. We have things like some plastics, ABS white, I like that. Looks like that might be a material that I can just drag over without downloading. There we go, that's looking good. And finally, we're ready to make our assembly. So we can put our joint in here. It's going to be pretty basic. I choose the center point of this and the center point of that. And we do want a rigid component. Okay, and we now have a sub-assembly. Now you can rename these because we're going to make it part of an assembly here. So when we go up here and rename this, or where is my rename? It's because I haven't saved it yet. Let's save that as, I'll call it Pen Tip Subassembly. Okay, and that should come up as, no, we can save the components also, but we are looking good. Okay, here we go with attaching the pen tip to the body. We're going to create a new file, a new design. Now, most of the time we create a new component, but we don't need to do this time. But before we can put anything in here, we need to save it. So we're going to save this and call it Pen Assembly, or whatever works for you. But we have to have it saved in order to bring things in here. Now you're going to expand. Now I'm showing some things that you don't have probably. We're going to bring that barrel in here. and place it. Okay, so there's the barrel. It already wants to know if you want to move it around or anything. We do not. Now we're going to bring in and drag over that pen tip subassembly that we just made. It's going to bring that in. We can move it around a little bit, but maybe we can rotate it before we put that in there. But either way, we're going to be able to place it just fine. So that. And we're going to put our single joint in there between this circle and that circle. We're probably going to have to flip it. Now it only brings that one part, but it will join the subassembly. Flip it, and it will, once we click OK, it's going to bring that other piece over because the subassembly is considered one piece. Just like that. All right, so you now have the subassembly plus the barrel, and that is what we are asking for part 2 of the submission form. Part 1, which I should have talked about, is just show your subassembly, which is that. Part 2, the second one, is going to be showing it connected to the barrel. If you want to challenge yourself and put other things in, we will be giving those parts to you later on to be able to use. All right, folks, hope it worked out. See you next time.